I used to think that when someone said, I don't have time, it just meant they were overwhelmed, that life got busy, things slipped through the cracks, and it wasn't personal. But when your wife tells you that every single day, for years, while she has time for everything and everyone else, yeah, it hits different. And it didn't hit me all at once. It was slow, like water dripping on a stone. And one day, you realize you're not a husband anymore. You're just someone who lives in the same house. My name's Kyle. I'm 36. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Good job, quiet street. I drive a 2016 Tacoma, nothing flashy. I manage inventory and logistics at a FedEx warehouse out in the Steel Creek area. It's a decent gig, not glamorous, but it pays well, benefits are solid, and I'm home by 5:30 every day. Now, my wife, Rachel, she's a different story. Real estate agent. Works with Keller Williams. You know the type. Social media is polished, wardrobe full of blazers and heels, always on the phone, always in a meeting, even during dinner. She's 34. Ambitious. Driven. Gorgeous, no doubt. And for the first few years of our marriage, I felt lucky. Like I had leveled up somehow. But somewhere along the line, her drive started replacing us. At first, it was small stuff. I'd suggest grabbing lunch on a Saturday. She'd respond, can't. Showing a house in Matthews. Okay, fair. Then it was, let's take a weekend off, head to Asheville. Her answer, too much going on. Maybe next month. Month passed. Still nothing. Then it got weird. She stopped hugging me when I walked in the door. Barely even looked up from her phone. We used to sit on the couch and watch Friends reruns and order Chinese from that place down on South Tryon. Now, she'd eat on her laptop at the kitchen island, answering DMs and texts from clients, or God knows who else, while I sat on the couch alone, hearing her heels tapping the hardwood. I started paying attention. One night, I asked her, can we just have dinner, just the two of us? Like old times. She looked me dead in the face and said, I just don't have time for this right now. For this. Like I was a hobby she didn't want anymore. It's crazy how repetition wears you down more than insults. I could have taken a fight, honestly. Yelling at least means there's emotion. But this slow fade, the indifference, it was like watching someone slowly pull the oxygen out of the room. You know what hurts the most? She did have time, just not for me. I'd see her dressed up for her clients, lashes, hair, perfume that I bought, while she wore sweats and messy buns around me. She'd be on her phone for hours texting clients at 10 p.m., but forget to reply when I sent a sweet message earlier in the day. We'd be out together, maybe once every few weeks, and she'd act like she was doing me a favor by being there. Our son, Caleb, he's 7, started asking, why doesn't mommy come to my games? I didn't know what to say. She's busy. Busy doing what? So I started observing. She had time to scroll on Instagram. Time to plan client dinners that ran until midnight. She had time to gossip on speakerphone with her coworker Madison while doing her nails. She had time to go get wine with the girls every Thursday like clockwork. She just didn't have time for her husband or our son. And I know what you're thinking. Why didn't you call her out? Why didn't you just blow up and confront her? I did at first, but every conversation turned into a shutdown. You're being too sensitive. Why are you always so negative? You're trying to control me. So I stopped. I stopped trying to fix it. Because when someone keeps saying, I don't have time, what they really mean is, you're not important enough to prioritize. I started detaching. Quietly. Not out of spite, but out of survival. One Friday evening, she came home around 9:30. I was on the porch, sipping a beer, just watching the sky turn dark. She didn't greet me. She walked right past me like I was invisible. I looked at the driveway. Her hair was done up, dressed tight, and her perfume hit me like a stranger walking by. She looked hot, no doubt, but not for me. That night, I laid awake next to her. She was on her side, texting, screen lighting up her face. I stared at the ceiling and just whispered to myself, this is done. Not the marriage, not yet, but me. I was done begging. From that point on, I flipped the switch in my head. I stopped initiating conversations. I stopped planning dates. I stopped asking for affection. I gave her the same energy she gave me. Distant, polite, surface level. She'd ask, why are you so quiet? I'd smile and say, I've just been tired lately. One night, she had the nerve to say, You're not putting in effort anymore. I wanted to laugh. Effort? She hadn't kissed me in months. Hadn't asked me how my day was in years. But you know what I said? Yeah, I've been busy. And the irony didn't even register on her face. I started filling my time too. Gym after work. Signed up for a night course in personal finance. Started cooking my own meals. Even bought a mini grill for the backyard. Me and Caleb would spend more time together. Just us. Parks, biking, Lego nights. Rachel barely noticed. You ever hit a point where you feel more peaceful away from your partner than with them? That's when you know. She thought I'd always chase. That I'd always make up for the lack of connection. That I'd keep understanding her career while getting crumbs of her energy. But what she didn't realize is, when a man detaches emotionally, it's almost impossible to get him back. And I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I was just done being second place in my own marriage. The last straw? One day, I walked into the living room and asked, "You want to go for a walk later?" She didn't even look up. Just said, "Maybe next weekend." I nodded, walked upstairs, sat on the edge of the bed, and thought, she's already gone. I just didn't want to admit it. That night, I started planning something I never thought I'd do. Not revenge, not divorce papers, just freedom. The next chapters of this story, that's when things get interesting. Because if she thought I was the type of man to stay no matter how I was treated, she forgot one thing. Even the most loyal man will walk away once he realizes his loyalty is being used against him. You ever realize you've been funding your own disrespect? That's the thought that hit me one Tuesday afternoon while I was standing in the checkout line at Harris Teeter, holding groceries I bought. Again, for a woman who couldn't even look me in the eyes anymore. It had been months since Rachel had shown any real affection. Even longer since she made me feel like a husband. But her nails were always done. Her wine shelf was full. And the Amazon packages kept arriving at our front door like clockwork. And guess whose name was on every single receipt? Yeah, mine. It started to get to me. Not in a bitter, angry way. More like that quiet click inside your brain when something finally makes sense. I've been funding her lifestyle, supporting her career, paying her half of the bills. And in return, I got nothing but distance, cold stares, and I don't have time. She had time to go out with her girlfriends on Thursdays, hit rooftop brunches in Uptown on Sundays, and spend hours networking on Instagram, but couldn't sit with me for 10 minutes on a Tuesday night. So I decided to mirror her. Not with my words, with my wallet. The very next day, I went into our Chase account, clicked on our joint checking, and opened a private sub-account labeled Personal. I started rerouting a small chunk of my paycheck every 2 weeks. Nothing too obvious, just enough to breathe. Enough to detach. That night, she ordered from DoorDash and said, "Can you cover it? My card's acting up." I looked at her and calmly said, "Yeah, my money's a little tight this week." She blinked twice. I'd never said that before. Her face tightened for a split second, but then she shrugged and paid it herself. It was subtle, clean, but that's when I realized something. Rachel was used to me always saying yes. Yes to gas. Yes to groceries. Yes to dinner. Yes to anything that made her life easier. But now, every yes was a no to myself, and I was done with that. The next week, she booked a hair appointment. Sent me a text. "Babe, can you Zelle me $160? She only takes cash now." I didn't reply for 6 hours. Then I wrote back. "Not today. I had a lot of bills hit at once. Things are kind of tight." She didn't respond. That Friday, she came home pissed, slamming cabinet doors, huffing, eye rolls, the whole performance. I just kept making my steak on the stovetop like nothing happened. She finally snapped. "You're really going to act like you can't help me out? What's going on with you lately?" I turned off the burner, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "I guess I've just been really busy." She got quiet, and I could see it, that flicker in her expression when someone hears their own medicine for the first time. I went back to cooking. She went upstairs. Didn't speak to me the rest of the night. You see, I didn't stop loving her. I just stopped financing my own neglect. Every dollar I used to give her was laced with hope. Hope that she'd see me again, that she'd remember we were a team. But she wasn't on my team anymore. She was playing solo and expected me to bankroll it. So I stopped. The nails stopped getting done. The brunches got less frequent. She started asking, "Did you pay the internet bill?" And I'd say, "Nah, I thought maybe you could cover it this month." just trying to balance things out. Suddenly, the woman who always said she was too busy now had time to talk. Funny how that works. She started noticing things. That I stopped refilling her gas tank on Saturdays. That I stopped buying the protein shakes she liked. That her gym membership was canceled, quietly. "Why isn't my card working at the gym?" she asked. "I took you off the account. Figured since we never go together, you probably didn't need it." That one hit deep. She sat at the dining table, silent, like someone trying to solve a puzzle without the pieces. And here's the thing, I didn't scream. I didn't throw it in her face. I became what she was, absent, selective, self-contained. But make no mistake, it hurt her. Not because of the money, but because the control was shifting. You see, Rachel wasn't just used to my money. She was used to access to me, my kindness, my effort, my forgiveness. When that went away, she started scrambling. One night, she asked, "Are you mad at me? You've been so cold." I looked at her, calm, steady. I'm not mad, just focused, trying to get my own things in order. Another one of her phrases fed right back to her. I started doing my own laundry. I bought myself a new pair of Timberlands and didn't say a word about it. Took Caleb to the park, bought him a new bike, spent the whole day out. Just us. Rachel texted me 3 times. "Where are you? Are you taking Caleb out without telling me now?" Seriously, Kyle? I ignored everyone. That night, she was waiting on the couch. Eyes red, hands shaking a little. She said, "I feel like I don't even know you anymore." And I told her the truth. "Now you know how it feels." She cried. Not loud, not dramatic. Quiet tears. The kind that sting more because they come too late. And I didn't comfort her. Because when I needed comfort, when I needed attention, when I needed love, she gave me silence. This wasn't about revenge. This was about balance. You can't keep pulling from someone and expect them not to feel empty. You can't keep saying, "I don't have time," and expect your partner to never say, "I don't have money." You can't treat someone like an option and expect to stay a priority. She didn't realize it, but I was reconditioning her. Not with anger, not with violence, with boundaries. She wanted to be independent. Now she was. She wanted space. I gave her oceans. And as she watched me pull away, not physically, but emotionally and financially, she started realizing something scary. She couldn't manipulate what she no longer controlled. It was a Friday night when everything changed. Not in some dramatic, movie-style explosion, but in the kind of quiet, piercing moment that you don't forget, ever. You remember the lighting in the room, the smell in the air, the look in her eyes when it finally hits her. I had just taken my son, Caleb, out for pizza. Just us. We went to Hawthorne's in Charlotte, his favorite spot because they let him color on the kids' menu and always bring extra mozzarella sticks. I hadn't even told Rachel we were going. I stopped asking for permission weeks ago. On the way home, he looked at me and said, "Dad, you seem happier now." I glanced at him through the rearview mirror. "What makes you say that? You smile more. Mom says you've been distant, but I think you're just free." That hit harder than any insult Rachel ever threw at me. My 7-year-old could see what she couldn't. I dropped him off with my sister for the weekend, told Rachel I had to clear my head. And honestly, she didn't even ask where I was going. Just gave a thumbs-up emoji. So that night, I finally did something for me. A buddy of mine, Derek, single, works in tech, smart guy, invited me to a dinner with some friends. Nothing crazy. Just a small group at a place called Ink in Ivy, right in Uptown. Lively vibe, decent crowd, strong drinks. I hadn't been out in forever, so I cleaned up, shaved, put on a dark navy button-down, jeans that actually fit, and those brown leather boots I hadn't worn since 2020. I looked in the mirror, and for the first time in a long time, I saw me again. The man I was before I got slowly erased. Derek gave me a nod when I showed up. "Damn, Kyle, you look alive, man." And I felt it, that spark. Like my soul had been sleeping with its eyes open for years, and now it was finally waking up. I didn't expect Rachel to show up that night. I really didn't. But life's funny like that. When people feel your energy pulling away, they feel it in their bones. She walked in around 8:45, wearing a cream-colored dress I hadn't seen in months. Low neckline, curled hair, makeup done like she was on her way to a gala. She spotted me instantly. Her expression, half shock, half wounded pride. She wasn't invited. I didn't tell her where I'd be, so I knew she had either checked my phone location or asked someone. She walked over, slow, casual, like she hadn't ignored me for years straight. "Hey, I didn't know you were coming here tonight," she said, her voice half sweet, half confused. I gave her a polite smile and tilted my head toward the empty seat next to me, not across. "That seat's taken, but you can sit over there." You should have seen her face. For the first time in forever, she was on the outside, looking in. The table kept talking, laughing. I sipped my bourbon slowly, didn't explain, didn't justify, and I think that silence broke her more than any yelling ever could. She sat quietly, tried to join the conversation, but nobody really pulled her in. She wasn't Rachel the Queen Bee here, just a woman who didn't know who her husband had become. After dinner, she walked beside me toward the parking deck. "Kyle, seriously, what is going on with you lately?" I stopped walking, looked her straight in the eye. "You mean since you stopped having time for me?" She opened her mouth to answer, but I wasn't finished. "You had time for clients, for wine nights, for everything under the sun, but not for dinner with your husband, not for bedtime stories with our son, not for conversations unless it was about bills or your listings. So I gave you what you wanted." Her voice cracked a little. "I didn't mean it like that. I was just, I don't know, tired, overwhelmed. It wasn't personal." I let out a short laugh. "You treated me like a background character in your life. Now that I've started living my own, you're suddenly curious again." Her eyes welled up. I don't think she was used to seeing me like this, calm, assertive, indifferent. "I miss you," she whispered. "You miss control," I replied. She stepped closer. I stepped back. "Rachel, we live in the same house, but I've never felt more alone than I did this past year. You didn't just stop loving me, you stopped seeing me. You stopped respecting me. And respect, Rachel, that's the real currency in a marriage." She stayed quiet, tears rolling down now. I pulled out my keys. "You wanted time to yourself. You had it. You wanted space. I gave it. But now, I've rebuilt myself, and there's no version of me that fits back into the box you put me in." She reached out to touch my arm. "Please don't say that. I'm not saying it to hurt you. I'm saying it because it's real. I beg for your attention. Now you're begging for mine. But I'm not the man who used to beg anymore." I walked away. No yelling. No slamming doors. No revenge plans. Just silence. And you know what? That silence screamed louder than any "I told you so." The next few days were weird. She started hovering, making breakfast, leaving post-it notes on my lunch bag, sending me flirty texts, the kind she hadn't sent in years. I didn't respond. I wasn't being cruel. I was being clear. You don't ignore someone for months and expect to get them back in a weekend. She tried everything. Asked if I wanted to go to therapy, if we could have a fresh start, if I'd be open to date nights again. I told her the truth. I'm not angry, but I'm not available. She collapsed into tears in the living room. Said she never thought I'd actually walk away. But here's the thing. Men don't always leave with packed bags. Sometimes they leave mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and by the time you notice, it's too late. I still live in the same house. For now, co-parenting, quiet mornings, separate bedrooms. But I'm already gone, and she knows it, because she doesn't ask, "Where are you going?" anymore. She asks, "Will you ever come back?" And my answer is always the same. I don't have time.